Okay, so the tour, David Holmgren's place, basically was the house and it was the environs. And I'll talk about those two things separately. So for the house, so I've got some little building projects with my father coming up. That actually was the most interesting thing for me. So I might end with that, focus on it more. His orchards were more traditional permaculture style, as to be expected. He is the co-originator of the term permaculture, the most legendary living permaculturist on the planet, and I guess we can say for all time. So the orchards, having been in Brazil, having been in different places, they really focus on the more syntropic agroforestry approach, the work of Ernst Goetsch. The orchards didn't speak to me that much. You had your fruit trees and your nitrogen fixers, and he was explaining how the cockatoos come in and to work down their beaks, they really do a lot of devastation on the trees themselves and protected species, and so there's a lot of management issues just having opened trees. Personally, I'm much more drawn to the wild, and places like Gabriel's place in Brazil, Chácara Suínica, where we were dropping 2,000 pounds of organic biomass onto his focus crop, which was coffee. And so he just had forests growing up around plants that he loved and was focusing on, and then we would just cut them back, and all that material would be a mulch for that crop, and then the forest would grow up around. And like this, I love that. That's my style. So the orchards, the outside, weren't speaking to me personally, just because of all that other experience. But the building definitely was. The building was incredible. The earthworks of it, it was 2 lots of land. The details aren't that important for our sake. What we're doing here is just teasing out some concepts. And so for me, a big takeaway was just really saying goodbye and letting go of fear of using heavy machinery and doing earthworks, and really being extensive about that kind of thing, and saying, this is where I'm going to live. I'm going to have a say in how it is, and if there's rock there, if there's what have you, I'll find the means to make it in a way that I consider intelligent. And so the main approach for Holmgren was thinking about fire and thinking about the space he was in, and that it was very susceptible to brush fire, and planning out the whole design on that, where he would put the house. Obviously passive solar, not angled to the street or anything else, but the sun, and having trellises coming down with grapes that protect from the sun at certain times of the year, and as they get pruned back at other times of the year when you do want that sunlight coming in, allowing for that. So really having a design that is very sensible, geologically, geographically, and in all respects. And taking the time to do that instead of slapping something up, really going the extra mile. Oh, one other note on the outside stuff, he recommended planting more nut trees and less fruit trees. Fruit is really a lot of sugar. It's not so great for the teeth. You don't need to have a million pounds of fruit. Nuts store really easy, a lot of protein, carbohydrates. They do take longer. He was around my age, I'm 34. So around that age when he started this project, and he's been there around that long. So 2 of my lifespans. So it was nice to get that little observation at this point before I've planted all my fruit trees, etc. And think about that, and that does make a lot of sense to me. And think more nut trees and less fruit trees. So that's a little kernel. Inside the building, the cooling system for the preserves, etc., was really nice to see. They're just simple cabinets with drawers that would pull out, wire mesh drawers, and a simple system of venting that would allow cold air to come in at the bottom, and then the warmer air would rise and vent out the top. And I don't know if they were 12 feet tall, etc., just matching the design, having these cabinets, these cool cabinets, was really nice to see. And I understand that we don't really need as much refrigeration as we may think. Yeah, the interior of the house had mud brick design, which apart from just all of its functionality was very pleasing to see inside the home, all of these mud bricks. And it felt like still being in the outdoors with all the comfort of being in the indoors, bringing the wild into the home. And that's something that sits very deeply with me. We didn't do a very extensive tour of the interior. We were in the living area, which comprised the kitchen and the dining room and the living room. And it was quite spacious for 20 people. There was no shortage of seating areas, and as someone who, is thinking about a less than 200 square foot dwelling as the next project that I'll build, it seemed very spacious for two people. Far more than adequate. Beyond that, just being with David Holmgren and Sue Dennett was amazing, and they were so kind and generous with their time, and so playful as well. Really seemed to be coming from a place of real ease. And even with the situation of so many people around, it's something they do every month, but still, it was clear that they're coming from a place of deep centered alignment with the lifestyle that they've made for themselves, this home-based life where they write their books and put that out into the world to share, and can have a life with play and simplicity as well. And just to hear, such well articulated and strident and resonant rebuttals to this dying machine that we all find ourselves in some way influenced by, or at least notice the influence of, this old world system that is not working and not serving anybody in favor of life. It's not life affirming. And hearing that righteous articulation, was really nourishing, I would say, and just a delight, an overwhelming delight, and an honor and a privilege to have been able to meet them both and to learn from the way they're living and just simply experience time with them, sharing that energy and that goodwill. It was very heartening, and that's the message that I'm taking forward with me, this in all aspects of my life, that rewilding is the way forward, and finding our own nature and what is alive for us and what resonates for us beyond all the noise and the confusion that's out there in the world. There is nothing ultimately that can take us off our path if we are present with the mystery that we are. There's nothing that stands in our way. This is not about conquering the world. This is about understanding ourselves, and in so doing, the world shifts.